including consumer products, retail, finance, manufacturing, and he has led his team to earn honors for their use of data analytics in media. AI/ML has the potential to transform all aspects of a company by assisting them in achieving quantifiable results, such as customer satisfaction, optimizing existing services, offering differentiated digital services, etc. On behalf of Aegis School of Data Science, I welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Ankita. So happy to be out here. So can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So thank you. It is, wonderful to be a part of this, energetic group. Just want to understand. So I think it's mostly students right now on the call. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, I would like, this session to be interactive. So, maybe anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me so that, we can go. So what I have is, I don't have a lot of, slides. I just have a few slides. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Let me know when you see my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So, so this session is, not about modeling. It is more about, how we use data science to drive business outcomes. Because, sometimes what we feel is, as data scientists, we have a tool. And then the tendency is, when we have a hammer, every problem is a nail. So you say, there's a problem, and then, we hit the nail, and then, we hit the hammer, and we try to fit it. So it is more about, how we use it, and then, how we drive business outcome. So that's the way I look at, data science. It is a means to achieve a business outcome. It is not an outcome in itself. And I think, the introducer, she touched upon this point that, it has the capability to change things. Now, how data science can drive business outcomes? The outcomes can be in different points. It can be in terms of increased revenue. It could be reduced costs, or it could be improved efficiency. Now, think about, how Netflix or how Amazon are using data science today. So if you think about, Netflix and Amazon, this is not new. This has been, for a long time. So there's been a study which says that, for Netflix, a lot of movie streaming is based on the recommendations that people get. So Netflix is, using, data science or analytics to increase the revenue. And similarly, Amazon, or Flipkart, I'm sure, everyone of us, is, using those platforms. So whenever we shop over there, so what we see is, we get recommendations, and, once in a while we are purchasing products, based on the recommendations that we get. So that's the way, we should, think about data science as, data science practitioners. When we go into the business, we should think about the business problem, and then, use data science in an appropriate manner. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments. I'm happy to entertain that, because, it will be good to hear your thoughts, rather than making it a one-way conversation. Okay, moving to the next slide. So this is, an example of, how companies have used, analytics to drive business outcomes. So what I've done is, I've, used a lot of, global examples. This is not necessarily from my piece of work. So I'm sure, a lot of, have heard about this Amazon Go Store. This is still evolving. Now, Amazon Go Store is, where, you go to the store, you can pick a product, and then see, instead of, the usual checkout, as you pick the product, the computer vision and other technologies, they're recognizing what you're picking up, and it is enabling a seamless cashierless checkout. So, there are different technologies at play. You have computer vision, and, with computer vision, you also have, other technologies which is enabling you to a seamless shopping experience. Similarly, FICO, what they are doing is, they are using AI and analytics to enable digital authentication, using ID and image recognition. Now, again, out here, the example is, image recognition, and then this using AI to achieve, breast cancer detection, it has been there for a while. And each and every year, this technology is improving. Now, if you think about that, doctor AI is not replacing doctors; it is complementing doctors out here, because at the end of the day, doctor will always be there. What AI is doing is it is making a doctor's life easier, enabling their detection, and then doctor can make a call that based on assistance from this AI, detecting the breast cancer becomes easier. We all see, Facebook has been using, AI to remove objectionable content. The once in a while, like, in India or elsewhere, people talk about, what content should be there, whether it is, right wing or left wing content. Retailers has been, using AI, to customize the offerings for each of the location. So, in US, it'd be, maybe prosperous efforts. In India, it could be, what is relevant for customers, purchasing in North India or South India, or, urban versus rural. Shell has been using AI to, and IoT to prevent malfunctions, as well as, find new sources of oil and gas. NBA has been using computer vision to determine, which shots are most, effective. And Google cars or Tesla cars, they have been using LiDAR and computer vision to enable autonomous cars. So these are the different examples. Now, I know as students or participant on this call, do you think there is any interesting example of AI and analytics that we should be talking about today?
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
Karthik. Yes, hey Karthik, yes, go ahead, please.
Sir, so basically, as you can see, all these examples are related to deep learning, like
Okay.
image recognition, video processing, and all. Like, how do we infer classic ML, like basic classification models, regression models, in current businesses?
In current businesses, Karthik, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Karthik, a deep learning model, like, again, it depends upon the business problem. So for example, a client, uh, it was in the business of, manufacturing iron parts. And then they said that, today, if you think about the business problem, when they are creating this iron parts, uh, there's a person who is manually inspecting the part. Okay. Now, can we make this process better? So then they said that, as the parts are coming out, they are putting up a camera over there, and then they are taking these parts and using computer vision and comparing it in array of existing parts and saying, okay, whether the part is good or not. Okay. So then, you can make a determination that, okay, if the part that is coming out, it is good or not. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're not replacing the person, but you're helping the person determine whether the part is good or not. So, this is, one example. And, I work for marketing company. Okay. So Publicis Groupe is a marketing company. So, we are using, computer vision to determine, which content is, more effective, so that, it can be served to the appropriate customer. So those are the couple of examples, Karthik. Anything that you had in mind, Karthik?
Basically, all you're talking about deep learning. Like, as
Sure.
of now, we are concerned like there are the competition for process required more for deep learning algorithms to run compared to machine learning algorithms.
Sure.
So how are companies coping up? Like, what is the scope of using deep learning in future, like 5 years?
So Karthik, scope is there. Again, it depends upon, the use cases. Now, if I say that maybe it will come in my next slide. It is, there in different industries. So for example, deep learning. So there are different examples. Let's say bill payment. Okay, not the bill payment. Let's say the meter reading. Okay, so historically, uh, let's say, like, someone would come and read the meter at your home. Now, even in my locality, Mahanagar Gas, what they say is, take the image, send me the meter reading. Okay. So it is using deep learning to help analyze, what is my meter reading. Now, Karthik, I cannot comment, what is going to be the, future 5 years from now. But I think all these things, they are increasing day by day. That's the way I can put it. Now, exact use cases, I cannot comment right now, Karthik. But yes, this is increasing day by day. That's all I can say. Did I answer your question, Karthik?
Kind of. I'm still confused. So for example, if you consider this Google breast cancer algorithm, so it's basically a classification model whether the person is having breast cancer or not.
Okay.
So if we consider in terms of precision and recall, these are the most two factors considered while classifying the model or predicting the accuracy. So how do we interpret in terms of different domains? So for medical, the false positive may be more important.
Yeah.
For example, you hear about iron parts, which are wrongly produced, or there are some defects in the program. So how do we define a problem using precision and recall and even require output at the data scientist? Like how we convey the message to the stakeholder? This accuracy. The stakeholder would understand how we explain them in terms of layman language.
Yeah. So, Karthik, that's a very important point because sometimes I think you raise a very important point because even with the best AI algorithms, sometimes there may be limitations, and we have to acknowledge the limitations. So you are right, and they think that AI will solve all the problem. Now, I think a couple of years back, I think there were outrageous predictions in US that this driverless cars is going to replace 20% of driving jobs. Now, have those predictions come out right? I don't think so, because they said that all this trucks will become autonomous, cars will become autonomous. So it will take time, and then it is important to help people understand that despite whatever fancy technology that we're living in, the limitation. Now, to answer your question regarding how do we tell the stakeholder, so it all depends upon what is the maturity level of the stakeholder, and you tell them accordingly. So, for example, one stakeholder I was working with, so he said that can we automate some of the algorithms? So his thing was that I'm using AI to improve my customer targeting. Now, the presumption was, I'll create a model, and then, the model should be learning, and then, the automated model, or we should be able to run the model in an automated manner. Now, the reality is that, the developing a model is, part art, part science. It is a manual process, and some person has to, determine, whether variable is important or not. And then, see what model is the best, and then update it. So it takes time to convince the stakeholder, and using the right examples to tell them that a model development cannot be automated, or the way you said that in some cases precision is important. It all depends upon the use case, Karthik. So patience is key when you work with the stakeholders.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Hey, Sachin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm awesome. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir. The thing is, like you mentioned about your group, right? Publicis, you are into marketing. Right. I would like to know more about what exactly you're working on, and what kind of algorithms you're using, or is there any modeling? Like, are you using any modeling or machine learning over there? Like,
yes,
we would
yes.
like to know more about it.
Sure, Sachin. So I can talk about the work that we do. Sachin, so what we do is we are a media agency. Okay, So Publicis, so as a data science team, we support different agencies within Publicis Group. So we have, media agencies like Leo Burnett, like Zenith and Starcom, and they help the clients, determine, where the ad should be put, whether it should be TV, print, radio, digital channels, could be, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. So after the client is done spending money on media, they want to determine, which channels are most efficient. So that's where, this machine learning models come in. Those are not deep learning models. It is, simply like a machine learning models, where, we say, determine, what is the contribution of each media element in driving, business outcome. It could be sales or it could be leads. And then we say, what is the ROI? Because for the client, it is important to understand which platform is giving the maximum bang for the buck. Now, once they know whether TV is more efficient or digital is more efficient, then they can, when they are doing the media planning for the next year, then they can say that, I want to shift my money around. Okay. So this is, one of the example of, using machine learning model. Other is, we are also having models for personalization. So let's say a client has a lot of, consumer data in their CRM, and then they want to improve the customer targeting. So based on the historical campaigns, we say that, okay, what was the campaign outcomes, and then, different consumer groups. So you say that, how do I improve the algorithm so that, I'm offering the right product to the right customer. So these are a couple of examples, we are using ML to, drive a business outcome. There are others, and such as maybe, I can, share more examples later.
Okay, sir. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Happy. So this is, at a high level, what the companies are doing. I gave an example of, as a Publicis Group, how we are using, data and AI and ML to, achieve business outcome. I can talk from the perspective of, what are the different data elements, and, what are the different use case domains. Because with AI and ML, it is important to understand the different domain context. So the same algorithm, could be applicable for an FMCG company. It could be applicable for, a finance company. It could be applicable for a manufacturing company. Now, I've given an example of, the FMCG company, or, earlier when someone asked a question about computer vision, I talked about a manufacturing company, which is using computer vision to, detect, whether the part coming out is important. Now, this is, the use cases, that I've, taken from a McKinsey presentation. So what they have talked about is, what are the different high-level analytical techniques. Now, not going in a specific model, whether it is in a deep learning, but this is more about, what is the type of data and then how it can be used. Now, there are use cases for structured data, time series data, text in, IT, analytics-driven accounting and IT. So there could be use cases in IT. There could be use cases in, hiring and retention. Now, if you think about a lot of company in India, or even the worldwide today, what is happening is, there's a lot of employees are leaving. Now, so even in my group, in the data science team, a lot of people leave, and then, we have to spend money on hiring. Hiring is a big challenge. Now, is there a way for me to look at the existing employees and then get some data to determine, which employees, predict which employees likely to leave? So maybe, we get some signals from, different data sources, and then, develop algorithms to flag, some employees likely to leave, and then, create customer offers to, retain that employee using different manner. Similarly, we can, use data to, predict, which customer can be acquired, or which customer can be, target next. So these are, the different examples across different domains. I don't know if, when you are, working on your, assignments, have you worked across, any of these types of models across, risk modeling or sales or demand forecast? Anyone want to comment on this?
studied about.
Hey, Karthik, your voice is a bit choppy. You want to check your microphone a bit?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, we have learned about sales and forecasting in our advanced stat session. Audible?
Yeah. Karthik, just can you repeat one more time, please?
When
Hello.
Yes, better.
Sir. We have learned about sales and forecasting in our advanced start sessions.
Okay.
So I had a question like how time series data is relevant for risk modeling. So the sale in the time series and risk model is darker than sales forecasting.
Okay. Okay. So Karthik, you are testing all my knowledge. Now I must acknowledge that this is I've taken this verbatim out of a McKinsey presentation. Now if I think about risk modeling, so typically banks or customers, so banks they are looking at customers where there's some sort of risk, okay, of fraud. Now, so for example, like one of my friend, he used to work at another bank, and then he said that every once in a while, they see some abnormal transaction. Now, if I would assume that the data will be coming in form of a time series, now you will take a look at customer pattern and see that has this customer made that sort of pattern in the past, made sort of a transaction in the past, and then you compared it to fraud transaction. Okay, so that way you can say that okay, determine if there is some sort of fraud going on. So that could be one example, Karthik, that I could think about. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir. Understood.
Because what may happen is Karthik, let's say think about you as a customer, a bank like ICICI Bank or Kotak Bank, they are saying that some transaction is a fraud transaction. So how do you determine which transaction is a fraud transaction? So I as a customer, if I'm mostly in Mumbai area, and then all of a sudden transactions start popping up in Goa. So the bank can say that for this customer, he or she never went out of Mumbai, and all of a sudden transactions are popping up in Goa, or transactions are popping up in Thailand. So can they flag it as a risk? So I know, like when I was in US, I think Citibank was pretty smart. There's a time when I flew from Chicago to Florida, and as soon as I used my credit card to check out my rental car, all of a sudden I got a call from Citibank that, hey, you know what, are you using your card out here? And I said yes, and then they allowed the transaction in that area. So that's could be one example of saying that how the time series data could be used to flag a risk of fraud. Make sense?
Yeah, sir. Totally, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so these the different examples. So maybe so maybe as a student, once we go on a job, we'll have to think about okay, whatever job we go. Let's say if you join an agency or a FMCG company, the same model could be used in one manner, and the same model. Let's say you go to a bank or a manufacturing company, it could be used in a different manner. Okay. So then moving on, so the way to think about is so today the way companies are thinking about is whatever data we get, so they are trying to set up automated platforms so that analytics can be delivered in a seamless manner. So as a media agency, what we are doing is we are developing a data pipeline so that BI and analytics can be delivered in an effective manner. Now we have different data sources. So earlier I talked about a media plan. So we have plans for digital media. We have plans for an offline media, which is developed by the planner. Now once the plan is executed, then we get other data from different sources. We get advertising, distribution, merchandising, pricing data, and media cost data. So all of these they are coming from different data sources. Then we also get the data from other sources. This could include my brand equity data, which could come from consumer surveys. We have consumer trends. We have, owned media data, that is coming from site visits, earned media, macroeconomic, other consumer data, and sales data. Now, so it is important that in order to get a truth about the customer data, we bring it on a platform. So, there are standard techniques, where we take this data, we ingest it, we model it, and then, we store it either on a data lake or a data mart. Now, if it is a volume is high, or, there's a velocity or variety of data, then we use a data lake. If it is simply structured data, then, we are good enough, creating a data mart essentially. Now, once the data is on our platform, then, we don't have to use the most sophisticated analytics technique all the time. So as an enterprise or as a media agency, maybe 80% to 90% of the use cases will be behind dashboarding. Now, I started my journey in, AI with analytics, and initially I thought that, okay, maybe BI is not useful. But then for a lot of, business stakeholders, having good dashboard is good enough. Okay, so that's where, if you develop a good report, then it satisfies the needs of a lot of stakeholders. Analytical models, like, they may be 10% of use cases, and those are the shining stars. And then, you can use the appropriate models to, deliver the business outcome. So I think Sachin asked the question that, what models are we using? So these are some of the models that we are using in the media agency. We are using marketing attribution models. We are also using forecasting models, models for digital analytics and customer acquisition. Now, why would we use the forecasting model? Now, once a company has done a campaign, then they say that, okay, what sort of investment should I be making to achieve certain growth in the next year? So we help them understand that, let's say you invested so many crores of rupees in a media plan last year. Now, in order to achieve 10% growth, how much extra money you have to pump in to achieve that growth? So we develop a forecasting model to help understand, where they should be investing money, and then how the growth will be coming in different seasons. Okay, so this is, how at Publicis Groupe, we think about analytics and modeling. Happy to answer any questions about this.
Hello, sir.
Awesome. Okay.
Hello, sir.
So yes, sir. Hey, Razi.
Yes, sir. I just had a doubt. Like I was going through an article once. There it was mentioned like that we often confuse data lake with data warehouse. Okay. So I really wanted to know like what's the similarities, if any, or what's the differences?
Okay. So Razi, during my 3 years at Cognizant, I learned 3 things, between a data lake and a data warehouse: velocity, volume, velocity, and variety. Okay. So with data mart, it is mostly the structured data. So let's say if the data is in a tabular form, then you use a data mart. But then if you have different data types, so let's say you have your numbers, then you also have your text, and you also have images. Then using a data lake, you can dump the data in one platform, and then you can interpret it when you need it. Okay, that's one thing. So one is the variety, then the volume. So if the amount of data is large, then the data mart, it may be more expensive, whereas a data lake, it is cheaper to store the data. And then the velocity. So typically with the streaming data that is coming in, then a data mart will not be able to handle it. Whereas platforms like AWS or Azure, they have specific means to handle that data. So Razi, maybe I don't know, take an example of I think we talk about computer vision. So today, how are you analyzing that data, or have you done a project where you're analyzing your data for computer vision or deep learning?
Yes, yes, sir. Right now we are on to that. We are just learning this part, the OpenCV and everything.
Okay, okay, OpenCV library, yes, okay. So, but then what happens, so Rajiv, when you are actually activating that model, okay, so, you'll have to activate it on a platform which can handle, the different varieties of data. So a traditional data mart will not be able to handle that data. So, you'll have to, end up using some form of a data lake to handle the
Okay,
different
sir.
varieties of data.
Yes, it's clear that.
Okay. Anything else?
Hi, sir, Lentil here.
Are there?
So could you tell us, we have for a capstone project, so we're working on building a sales forecasting model for a small scale business. So we have received the sales data. Could you
Okay.
tell us how do we go about it and what approach do we use?
Okay.
Because our data is only regarding their sales, like for the past 3 years, the products they've sold. So what approach should we use and what insights do we give the company?
Sure. So my suggestion would be, before even doing a model, we should start analyzing the data. Okay. So what I typically do is, I take the data and I see that, okay, is there any seasonality in the data? So is the data that you have got, is that monthly data or daily data or weekly data?
So it's there is specific orders, so it's daily data, but the frequency of the orders is not the orders are every alternate day. We just got it like a couple of days back. So before we this meeting, the session was actually the right time. So before we started, I thought I'd just ask you how to go about it.
Okay. Okay. Sure. So the way I would look at the data is that, maybe I'll try to understand, is there any seasonality in the data? Okay.
Okay.
Now, let's say for chocolate category. So I worked with the chocolate category, last year. So in India, the chocolate category sales, they increase around Valentine's Day. Then they increase around, there's something called a Friendship's Day.
Yes, sir.
Then around Rakhi. Then there's a lot of gift giving that happens, during Diwali. Okay. So you may analyze that, okay, are there patterns that repeat year over year? Number one. Second thing is that, you may want to look at, last year what happened was, COVID happened.
Yes.
Now, so all of a sudden, what you will see is that, there's maybe a big slump that may have happened because of COVID. So you may want to see that, what is the impact of, any external events. Then what is the trend year over year? Are the orders increasing or decreasing? Now, obviously, this is a college project, so you may not get a lot of information. But let's say you are working with a client, then you may want to ask them that, is the category growing or declining? Okay. And then other than the seasonality, you can ask the client that, okay, is your distribution increasing or decreasing? Okay. Because in any time series data, especially in a retail environment, it's primarily 4 fundamental factors that could drive my sales. One is distribution, number of stores where I'm selling, merchandising, what type of promotion that I'm doing, pricing, whether I'm taking a price increase or whether I'm reducing price, and advertising. Okay. So you can ask the client, okay, is my distribution growing or declining? Am I promoting more or am I reducing? Then, pricing, what is happening, and then, how they're increasing advertising. Once you do this analysis, then, you can take an appropriate, plain vanilla regression-based model on any advanced analytics techniques to, build in predictors, which can, one is, explain the sales in history, and then, do a forecast by making assumptions about these independent variables in the forecast period. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other question that I can answer?
So like in hello sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, Sachin.
Yeah, like in the column of BI and dashboarding, there is a term called share of voice. So what exactly is the share of voice?
Sure. So share of voice would be, let's say, you take an example of a category. What would be an example? Let's say Atta. Okay. So in Atta, in India, the major players are, Ashirvad, then, Pillsbury, And then, there are different manufacturers. Now, let's say Ashirwad has a certain percentage share in the category. Now, so what they say is, they target a certain share of voice in terms of, when I'm showing ads on TV. So there are ways to measure, what is the competitive spend. So that data comes from BARC, and we say that, okay, what is my spend? How much, reach and frequency do I have? And then what is the reach and frequency of the competitor? And then you calculate, what is my share of GRPs as a total. Companies have different targets, depending upon, let's say I have 50% share in the market. So my share of voice should be at least 50% or maybe even higher.
Okay, so thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, this is, so as I said that, AI analytics, it is highly contextual. It is, specific to the domain that we are working on. And in my domain, which is mostly related to FMCG, the terms that I use are, contextualized to this FMCG customers. And then I'm sure, you are, maybe at different stages in your program. So the analytical techniques that you are using, it could be at different stages. It could be as simple as mundane as, using a simple, regression-based models, some machine learning models. And the applications could be forecasting, pricing, optimization, churn models, recommendation, some form of predictive analytics. Or, you can be using, text data, or, natural language analysis. And the applications could be, analyze the data that is coming from social media, or analyzing customer sentiment, or if you have an email, want to understand, what is happening with the spam filtering. Now, if you think about, nowadays, a lot of information is there on Twitter. So a company, wants to analyze, what are customers saying about the brand on Twitter, whether the customer sentiment is positive or negative. And then, what are the customers saying about the competitors? Now, is my share of conversations higher than the competitors or not? So we can use text analytics to analyze this information. You can also use, natural language generation. Now, historically, we were generating a lot of reports manually. Now, if you have appropriate tools, you can, even generate reports automatically. So we have automated journalism, and then creating market summaries. We all know, voice techniques, they have evolved. So Siri and Echo, these are a part of daily lives. And then, you guys have been, using examples of, deep learning, where, with computer vision, we have been able to do digital authentication, health diagnosis, anomaly detection, or, even reading documents. And finally, it is not just about, AI, it is also about, using technology. So we have, intelligent agents, like voice assistant chatbots, which have been helping automate some of our tasks and, making our, day-to-day job easier. Any techniques, you think I may have missed out here, which is worth mentioning? Okay. So then at the end of the day, what happens is that, because when you come to the school, or when we work with the client, I think someone earlier on asked the question that, how do we use the data, or how do we convince a stakeholder? So what we talk about is, how do we work with the stakeholder to do an analytics project? So it is not just about building the model. It is about, identifying a use case with the client. So recently we were having a conversation with an asset management company. So the way he said that, okay, I have customers who subscribe to a product, and then I want to be able to predict which customer is going to renew that product. So I want to develop a model to predict which customers are going to renew the product. So we said that, hey, this is, your use case. Then we look at, what is the technology and data collection. So do we build the model on your platform, or maybe we take the data from your platform and then understand, what are the independent variables that can be predictors of, customer renewal. So it could be, customers by gender, by age group, by income level, where they live, these could be predictors. What is your portfolio size, or, what are the types of products. So these could be examples. But then we'll have to work with the customer to understand, what is the technology and data. Then we develop model and, validate it. So we take the model, validate our model against actual customers. And then, it is about, deploying the model to say that, you put the model alongside the actual in the environment and say that, is it performing as per expectation, or, it should be refined. And once the model is deployed, there is still, sometimes some concern about, model. So we have to see how the process has to be changed so that the model can be incorporated in the actual work environment. So, so that's, the practical point of view about, how as a practitioner, we think about, AI and ML. So yeah, that's, pretty much, what I had to say today evening. Happy to answer your questions, or, we'll be happy to have a chat with you guys.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hi, sir. Shrikant here. Good evening.
Hey, Shrikant, how are you?
So I'm good. I'm good. Hope you're all good at your end as well.
Yeah.
So recently you were speaking that you were working with an asset management company. So I would request you to like put on some more light, sir. What are the features what you had in that, and what are the algorithms and techniques you used in that? So that might help.
Yeah. So Shrikant, so that obviously I cannot name the client. So that project is, still, we are working with the client. So we are still not there, but, I just, gave an example of, what are the features that we can potentially use for them.
Okay.
If you think about, an asset management company, and like, let's say you are a customer, okay?
Okay.
And, you put money in some SIP product, okay? And then that is for a fixed amount of time. Then what are the likelihood of, you renewing that product? So, so the determinants could be the age. The younger consumer, could have a different probability versus a slightly older consumer. Maybe it could be different by gender. Maybe male and female, there could be slightly different. Or could be portfolio size. So, we can do some descriptive analysis to say, are there difference by, the portfolio size, or maybe, by different cities. Or what else, how long the customer has been doing some trading, and then maybe getting any other relevant information about the customer. It all depends upon what data customer is willing to share. So during this phase, it is about, us sharing our hypothesis with the client, and then the client knows their business best. They say that, okay, hey, you know what, beyond this, can you try this data and this data as well?
Okay.
So that's how, we think about the feature generation.
Feature generations. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Anything else?
Hello, sir. Aditya here.
Yeah, Aditya.
Sir, my question is so mostly on which topic deep learning is going to make a boom in the future of in past in 5 years or in 10 years? What is your point on this?
So Aditya, as I said that, maybe if I take out here, maybe what I can do is I can go back and see that, across these use cases. So deep learning would result in this computer vision. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, within Publicis Groupe, I think I would say that, a lot of work that we do is, in the text part, or at least in my team. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now, the use cases for deep learning, they are increasing. Now I can go back and check and see that, what percentage of use cases are deep learning. Now, definitely this is going to increase.
Okay.
Now, for example, earlier, when I go to the bank, I would deposit a check. Now, if the bank can, just take the check and, recognize the figures that I'm putting in, that is not exactly deep learning. That is, more like image recognition.
Okay, sir.
But, that is helping me ease the process. Okay. So
Okay,
similarly, there could be more use cases. Now, exact number, I don't know, to what extent, whether it is going to be 2 times or 3 times from now.
sir. So GAN is going to future or not? Like so it's so much like in trending in these days. GAN.
So GAN would be again your. Can you specify the full form of GAN?
A generative adversarial network.
Okay. So again, Aditya, some of these technologies, they are at a very, I would say, the leading edge.
Yeah.
Okay. So today, what may be happening is that let's say regression-based models, they have been there for a long time. Okay. And everyone uses this regression-based models. Some of these techniques like GAN. So they may be at the leading edge. So companies, what they may do, they may be trying some things out. And then seeing, how they are making an impact.
Okay.
So that's the way I would put that. Now, in my domain, we don't use GAN.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, or you work on text or in computer vision?
So we mostly work in the first 2 parts. So there are other parts of the organization.
Okay, sir. In text, in which type of deep learning algorithm or method you are using right now?
So text, Aditya. So in some cases, we don't have to even use a technique. Okay. Nowadays, what is happening is the tools are becoming so powerful.
Yeah.
That even the tools are giving us information.
Yes. Okay,
for example, we use a tool called NetBase. NetBase we use for social listening.
Yes, sir.
Now with NetBase, what I can do is I can specify the topic. Let's say we do periodic analysis on COVID. So it looks at Twitter, it looks at other platforms and tells me what a customer is saying about COVID.
Okay.
Whether the conversions are increasing or decreasing. Then it gives me the word cloud. It says that along with COVID, what else are customers discussing?
Okay, sir.
So whether they are discussing about health and all those things. So Aditya, over there, I don't have to do any analysis. The tool is doing it for me.
Okay.
And then it also tells me whatever conversions customers are doing.
Okay,
now, so sometimes the tool is able to give me all this information. Otherwise, what I can do is, I can use some sort of, clustering algorithm to say that what are the, related topics, and then, sift information out of that.
So, what's the point? Like companies using pre-trained data or not in text, like GP2 or something like about.
So I think maybe let's take an example of when you talk about pre-trained data. So what would be the context? Maybe can you take an example for domain?
Like
maybe?
For translation, like I want to translate something from English to French or something related to.
Okay. So Aditya, now if you think about it this way, if you translate from something from English to French. Now today you are in school, okay? So you are learning things, okay?
Yes, sir.
So over there, obviously, you want to use historical data to say that, what is it in English, and then how do you translate to French?
Yes, sir.
So over there, it makes sense to, train your algorithm to do this translation. Now, have you ever used this Google Translate feature?
Not like sir, I used, but not implemented. Sir, I am making an app. So for that, I need to translate from English to Hindi. Because I'm making app related to farmers, so they don't know English. So that's why I want to look know this thing. So I asked.
No. That's what I'm saying. See, again, because what you are doing is you are learning today. You are creating algorithm. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But companies like Google, they already have created Google Translate, which can do this thing.
Okay, sir.
So I know I started using Google Translate in 2004. So when I was working in US, I used to get some contracts from Latin America. They used to be in some Spanish. So what I used to do was I used to enter some text in Google Translate, and it'll translate me from Spanish to English.
Okay.
Now, if you think about over 16 years or so, how much learning would have gone in Google Translate, and now it is available across languages. So yes, for the part that you are doing as a student to develop this algorithm, I would say it is important.
Okay, sir.
But what I'm saying is that these tools are already there in the market. They're already very mature.
Yes, sir.
And they would have learned it over a period of time.
Sir, if you want to use this model for our app, so how will we use?
Aditya, again, I would say context is very important. So let's say so maybe let's think about selling your application. So you said that about English to Hindi. Now, a lot of customers, if you think about India, you and I are speaking English, okay? But a lot of customers in rural India, they don't speak English.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so maybe if you try to sell it to someone in let's say North India in UP, so it will be easier for them to do a translation.
Yes, sir.
But Aditya, a very important trend that also is happening is this is search. So you and I, we can type search trend in Hindi, but then a lot of rural customers, they cannot do the typing. So for them, voice search is also becoming very important.
Yes, yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
So you can, instead of typing this thing, so I would say that I wouldn't say a layman, but a new user in rural India, they can speak what they are. Google is able to take that voice, translate it to some form of text, do the search, and then relay the result back to the user.
Okay, sir. Understand. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I think it is maybe we are moving more from the domain of actual algorithm and more about again what Google has done is they have thought about the use case and then how they are using different technologies to provide that voice search functionality to the end user.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hey, Siddhant.
Yeah, Siddhant here.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I just had one small question to ask you. Like,
sure.
In a couple of months, like we are students right now, in a couple of months, we'll be finishing our course and we'll be heading towards the industry. And obviously, we'll be interviewed by some of the experts of the industry.
Sure.
So I would be interested to know from you, sir, what would be the first and foremost thing that our industry experts would be looking in us as a students or people who have studied data science while we'll be sitting in the interview? What is the most important and the foremost thing they would be looking in us? They would be searching in us.
So Siddhant, what I would say is that as I said that it is about so Siddhant, it depends upon the different people. Okay. Now, there could be some person, who would be interviewing, just on, your R or Python skills. Okay. Because they want, people to be coming in. Now, I have a different perspective. I could be looking for more from, how someone's skills could be applicable for a particular domain.
Okay.
Okay. So maybe, having some understanding of the domain will be important. And then how you use the skills for that particular domain. So Siddharth, there is no particular answer. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else that I can help with? Okay, if not, I would say I know we had an hour, so I think we are almost at the end of the hour. So yeah, again, I would say thanks for inviting me. I don't know if anyone wants to make a closing remark or.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful talking to you. It was great. Thank you so much.
No, Ankita, pleasure is all mine. I know it was wonderful because at one point in time I thought that am I speaking to a blank crowd? But then it was very good that people ask questions and then they provoke you to think. So it was very interesting to speak to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Sure,
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of Aegis School of Data Science. Thank you so much.
Sure. Good luck everyone and have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.